Hello all, welcome to the session. Today is a demo session and can you guys confirm if you can hear me and can see the screen in the chat? Anyone, can you confirm, please? If you can hear me and can see the screen. So the session will start in another 2 to 3 more minutes. So please be ready. Yeah, thanks, Sandeep, for confirming. Please hold on to 2 to 3 more minutes. We will start the session. Let people join. Yeah, it's already time. So we can start the batch. So once again, welcome to the Linux Administrator demo session. So this is my so this is my around 20th batch, I think. So yeah, so this is the email ID support@logiclass. So you can drop email to them regarding anything like payment related or notes or recording, any issue you face, and even technical issues uh, during our session. You can drop an email to them. I will even provide their email in the chat. So please do note it down. Anyhow, it will be there in the portal. Okay. So there is a bit of general information, so I'll quickly go through this. So the first 3 sessions will be for free to attend, means it is the demo session, which is including today's session. Okay. And from the fourth session, it will be only for the paid candidates. And the recording also will be shared. The first 2 sessions recording will be available in the YouTube channel. Okay, I will show you the YouTube channel. But from the third day recording, it will be only available or only accessible by the paid candidates through the portal. Okay. And it won't be uploaded in the YouTube channel. So that is, yeah, that is the first thing. And you cannot do any batch shifting or there is no refund either. And this is the WhatsApp number, oh sorry, WhatsApp community link. I will even give this in the chat. So you just click on that link, and if you're not part of it already, it will redirect you to this. Anything related to our course, it will be posted here. Like not notes and all. Like let's say my availability or let's say a session is postponed, right? So anything related to our course will be posted in this WhatsApp channel. Right? And our all the recordings and not only my batch, every recordings will be available in the Graphy. So there is a Graphy portal. I will anyhow show you the our portal how to enroll, and please do use that portal only. That is the only place where you have the recordings, notes, everything related to our course. And let's say as I told you, if you are facing any issues, the support team is available from Monday to Saturday during the business hours like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. IST. Okay? So these are all the support. I did give the support email ID, and this is the phone number. Okay, so if you're having any query, you can directly call to these numbers, right? So let's move on. So these are all the social media links. So let me show you the website. So this is the official website for Logic Labs, and this is posted in the graphic. Okay, and if you click on courses, this is our course. So I'll again come back to this page, and yeah, so you have the YouTube channel link. I will show at the last. Okay, so how to see the today's recording. So yeah, okay. So these are all the remaining social media links. Please do follow those. So yes, a little bit about myself. So Karthik here. So I done my RHCSA certification like quite some time it's been, and currently working as a platform engineer in one of the MNC company, and handled more than around 9,800 to be precise servers are there, and it is including cloud servers, data center hosted servers, right? So all the servers are there. Okay, so and yeah, serving as a platform engineer, which is including Linux as well as multiple roles, especially database, backup, and all. Fine. So coming back to the topic, so first and foremost, what is Linux and why it is still relevant in IT? So the second question is way more important than the first one because first one you might have an idea. I will come back to the second one, but firstly, for the people who are very new to Linux, firstly, what is Linux or how important it is? Right. So Linux is just another operating system like your Windows. So the Windows which I am using, right? So this is my personal computer, and this is the Windows 10 actually I'm using. So like that, you might have used Mac OS or what else? Many Linux flavor itself, many are there. So that's what like Linux is just another operating system, and why companies are preferring it? Like it's not a latest trend like let's say Docker or Kubernetes. It is again Docker is not very latest. Let's say Terraform, right? So companies are adopting Terraform nowadays, and Linux is not a latest trend or latest OS which is posted. It has been there for almost 31 years. It's been Linux is there, and I will show you the guy who came up with it. Okay, so again, he didn't came up, he's not the only person who developed the full-fledged OS, and no one can develop the full-fledged OS. Only one person cannot develop. That is impossible. Okay, because again, nowadays using maybe AI agents you can, but it is very hard, right? So because you need to do the UI, UX and everything. Let me show you the guy who came up with this one. And why I'm showing it in GitHub page, there is a reason for it. Yeah, so he's the one who came up with Linux. Okay, so this is, sorry, his name is Linus Torvalds. And this is the kernel of Linux. What is kernel and why I'm showing this page? I will come back to this. But you see the people, how many people are contributed to Linux or the kernel, right? So why? Because this is an open source operating system. Now you need to understand what is open source and closed source. So easy example for the closed source is nothing but our Windows only. So do you have an option to maybe edit any one of this? Let's say I don't want this pen and I don't actually speaking, I don't own any touch screen or this external pen. Okay. So I want to disable this and even remove this icon. Can I do that? No. Actually speaking, I cannot remove that. Again, the driver won't be there. We can remove the driver and all, but that the option will be still there. Like that, I don't have the control over the UI. Again, I can apply some third-party themes, right? So, but it is not, or it won't be a permanent solution, especially in a closed source operating system. So, there are two types of operating system. One is open source and closed source. The same thing goes for your which one? Mac OS. So obviously, many might already know that you cannot. Obviously, you can apply theme and many things are customizable. But can you really disable certain features? Obviously, no in either one of them. So whereas here in Linux, literally you can disable everything, even an important one. Also, you can disable. You have an option. At least you have the freedom to disable it, right? So that is what appreciated by the companies because at the end of the day, they need the performance, right? So let's say Windows bundles, again, I'm talking about the end user or commercial Windows, it bundles Xbox with every, and again, I might have disabled it, but you might see Xbox. Yeah, this one. Even though you don't own, or even in my case, I don't own this, still this will be installed in my operating system because they are not creating a tailored operating system for my usage. It is a common one for anyone. So no one knows like they might use Xbox or not, right? So that's the reason it will be bundled with every operating system or every release. Okay. So but that is not being like how to say that is not tailored made for the performance or for your record. Whereas in Linux, you literally can create your own operating system using this open source kernel. Okay, so again, the UI or the user interface like this, right? So your cursor and this icons and all, you can design yourself, but you can use this kernel. This is an open source kernel, okay? And it is already licensed, but it is an open source community license. So if you see this one, so literally you can, if you are smart enough, you can even create your own operating system. Again, you means you can create your own team and you can create your own operating system. Okay? And you see how many commits are there over the period. And why I told or I'm showing this guy using GitHub because he is also the same guy who came up with Git, not GitHub, Git, the version control. Why? Because in order to maintain, in those days, there were not these many people. Let's say there were only 500. So the same guy might be editing multiple files at this concurrent time. One guy in, let's say, in Germany or somewhere, he might be editing. So that is impossible to maintain, right? So the version control, there used to be a software like SVC software. So it was there, but it was not that efficient. So Linus Torvalds came up with his own version control software called as Git, and that is even revolutionized, and that is the core of GitHub. Okay, so GitHub literally uses Git, and obviously many might already know, but yeah, okay. So that is the reason. That is also one of the reason uh, this repository is been like you see how many the stars. It's been there for ages. Okay, so that is the thing. So yeah, and one good thing is it is being constantly updating every day. There will be some update, which is great. Yeah. Fine. So coming back to this one, as I told, open source and closed source. In Linux, you can literally change everything. Okay, keep that in mind. Fine. Now, as I told, why it is still relevant in IT? Because you guys might already know that, let's say, there are many trends, right, which is kind of faded over time. Only few will be persistent, and a few will be used among everyone, right? So very again in these days, it is quite easy to be how to say kind of FOMO, right? So easily it will be out of trend and people will move on. Whereas why Linux is still relevant because your whole IT itself is nowadays Linux is the backbone of IT. So with let's say in tomorrow's or any day, like let's speculate that like Linux is not there. In that case, what will happen? Literally, your Android phones depends on Linux. Your Mac OS is based on Linux. Okay. Again, I'm not talking about like only Linux OS is backend. Few components of Linux has been powering all these. Okay, your everyday usage, IoT devices, right? So all are backend. A Linux system or Linux operating system is the base thing because without an operating system, you cannot run a simple application or anything, right? So that is the reason Linux is very lightweight also. So there are many features for Linux. It is lightweight and portable. Okay, so portability and availability. So it is very easily you can search and it is free. That is the best thing. It is free. And as an end user, that is great. And as a enterprise also, they are ready to pay anyhow. Companies will pay for the support and to get the latest build, everything. But the point is, it is free and readily available. Okay, and the community, that is the most important thing. So the community is the best out there compared to Windows and Mac. Like so many forums are there, and yeah, so each and every Linux based OS have their own separate forums, which is very rare. Okay, so yeah, let me open one more site called as Distro Watch, and please do bookmark this site just for your curiosity. Why? Because again, this is not related to syllabus or anything, but if you see this site is basically different Linux distributions. How many Linux distributions are out there? And they even create a rank. So how many rank or how many people are currently not exact real-time data, like which OS is kind of people are adopting, right? So which Linux-based OS? It's not like Windows or something you will see there, right? So you see Ubuntu, which is very famous, right? So Debian based, and this one, Linux Mint is very, very famous, right? So Pop OS is also very similar to Windows. It looks like the UI, and you have Alma Linux, right? Rocky Linux is there. I think Rocky is discontinued, and Alma is the one which is taking forward. So Elementary is also very famous one. So like that, you have a huge ranking, and if you see here, Red Hat might be, yeah, 51st place. Now you might ask, okay, then why companies prefer Red Hat? It is not in this rank. So this is not an official rank per se, right? So companies do want the support, right? So support and Red Hat is not just another, let's say, Pop OS has been there for just 5 to 6 years, but Red Hat has been there for ages. Okay, so they are the early adopters or the early companies which created their own or tap the enterprise market. Okay, so they firstly they didn't concentrate it, and even nowadays they didn't concentrate on end users. Obviously, we can use their operating system, but their main focus is for enterprise. Okay, enterprise or companies. I may call it as companies or enterprise, both are same. Okay, so yeah. So if you see their official site, and Red Hat has been evolved too many resources are there under their belt nowadays, and it has been owned by IBM. Okay, so the IBM acquired Red Hat in like 4 years back. So yeah, and what are all the products they do serve? So Red Hat have their own AI nowadays, and they are also following the AI trend. And you have OpenShift, Ansible, right? So Ansible is owned by them. And again, you might ask, okay, these are all open source. How it is owned by them? So there will be the support and the few development, and the updates will be rolled out by Red Hat. Okay, so it might look like an open source, but ideally it is not. Okay, so yeah, so they have their own OpenShift cloud. Okay, so OpenShift platform, uh, and which is a PaaS. Okay, so platform as a service, and their most important one, their operating system. Their- Okay, so RHEL or Red Hat Enterprise Linux is their origin of product, or the first and foremost product, which is their operating system. Okay, their own version of Linux. Okay, and let's say you might have used AWS or GCP, and they might have their own version of Linux. So they might have mentioned Amazon Linux or Amazon AMI, right? So now what is that? It is nothing but their own version of Linux. So similarly, Red Hat has their own Linux, which is called as Red Hat Enterprise. So in short, it is called as RHEL, and it has been the market leader. It is kind of a monopoly nowadays. So obviously, few companies use Ubuntu and a few different versions also. But RHEL is almost like 73% of the market Linux-based operating system. Again, I'm not talking about the entirety of the data centers, but Linux-based operating system, it is like 73%, which is like obviously monopoly, right? Which is good actually. Why? Because they have very good support team or support system that companies can rely on, right? So that is the main factor or the USP that Red Hat is still relevant, because there are many players out there. Like even HP have their own OS. IBM themselves have their own AX series. But why there is not much trend, or there is not much happening in those operating system, because it's kind of outdated and it is for the legacy servers, means very old generation servers. So they didn't adopted much of the latest trend and what companies need or what the current technologies needs, right? So whereas Red Hat literally adopted and they even evolved and they even revolutionized the current trend. Okay, so yeah, they are the front runners and they will be forever. Okay, so I think so. I'm not sure if there is any new competitor out there, but as of now, they are the market leader. So that is the reason you have a certification for Red Hat. Okay, so which is called as RHCSA, and the full form is Red Hat Certified System Administrator. Now you might ask, okay, system admin is almost like outdated. Why it is needed, or why this certification is relevant? Again, system admin is not outdated. First thing, many do have an perspective that, okay, AI can replace sysadmin also. No, that is impossible, because sysadmin or even for AI, it is hosted in where? The servers. And servers are must be maintained by a human. Okay, so again, few tasks can be automated. I'm not denying that AI, there is impossible AI penetration is impossible. No, AI is needed, but sysadmin is one of a job which is irreplaceable due to the requirement, because everything is hosted on a server and someone need to maintain those. Okay, and Linux is like a fundamental. So without this, all the servers or without the fundamental knowledge, you cannot proceed further with, let's say, DevOps, platform engineer, or SRE, right? So this is like one of the most fundamental knowledge or foundational knowledge. Okay, so you must have Linux, and it is a necessity nowadays because, as I told, almost every server is hosted in Linux. So no, you don't have a choice. Let's say you are even a developer, you must have at least the basic idea of Linux, how it works. Okay. Again, as a developer, there is no need for you to do the certification, but still, this certification is or it is very relevant. And if you have the certificate, it is adding credibility to your resume. Why? Because this is purely a practical exam. There is no MCQ. Okay, so that is the good and bad at the same time because many entry level or the people who are coming from different background to Linux or to IT, they might struggle in early days, right? Because MCQ is what we are used to, especially in any cloud certifications or any certification you take, very few only having a pure practical certifications, whereas Red Hat is one of them. All of their certifications are practical only. Okay, so that is the thing. And yeah, okay, so this is uh, the exams code. I will talk about the exams payment or how you can enroll those things later, not now. Okay. But this is if you do, I'm not forcing you to do the certification, but if you do, and if you're starting your career now, then this is a very good certification to have in your resume. And if you're already an experienced person also, if you've done this, it is a good thing to have in your resume. And let's say you're already working and uh, in some companies they do offer a reimbursement, right? So you can opt for that and you can complete this certificate. Okay, so fine. So let's see the syllabus part, and I will take questions in few minutes. Okay, so once I complete this, so firstly, these are all the roadmap for our batch. Okay, and it is important that each and every topics will be covered in detail and it will be purely practical. Okay, so again, for first 2 to 3 sessions, it will be theory part, which is an mandatory theory part. Okay, so I don't want to bore you with all the theory or concepts because then there is not much concepts per se when it comes to Linux as an operating system or as a sysadmin's perspective, right? So purely you will get your hands dirty very soon. Okay, so that is the kind of a disclaimer. Okay, so yeah, fine. So firstly, what is user management? So in any operating system you take, user management is one of the key roles as a sysadmin or any any OS, like even our own system. In our case, since we are as an end user, or let's say there is not many people using your system, it is kind of impossible for you to create many users, or you might not have an experience doing that, right? Uh, Again, I'm not talking about Linux in general itself, like Windows, Mac OS also. Uh, Very rarely you will maybe you won't create like a separate account for a person, uh, right? So you might share your credentials or you might ask them to log in via guest, right? So guest login is there. So it is not a conventional way when it comes to enterprise. So in enterprise, each and every user is unique and they must log into their account only. It is impossible to log into a different account. And yeah, so you're not supposed to also. That is the thing. It is kind of a malpractice if you're doing that. Okay, so which is like strictly monitor. Okay, so that is the thing. And you, as a user management topic, you have all the user related stuff. You see, create user, right? So delete, modify, and the basic stuff, provisioning a password, changing it, or expired password, how to handle that, how to lock an user. Right, so these are all the basic things. And why I kept it basic because as I think many people might be very new to IT or very new to Linux. So right away, if I try to explain, let's say SSH key configuration and some huge topics, it is impossible for you to track or very hard to understand only, right? So, and many training institutes does that. Okay, so which is very hard. Again, it's not impossible for you to learn. These are all easy, but we should gradually go. And I personally will gradually go through the syllabus. Again, I might change the syllabus or I might like extend the topic. So it totally depends on how many questions you guys ask. And if you want me to repeat or you want me to enhance the exact topic which we are going to, you can do that. Okay, so again, the syllabus is flexible. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that is the user management. There is even super user access, which is like a privileged access. Again, and that is a very unique way of approach for the privileged users. In Windows, it is a bit different way. In Linux, it's totally different and very reliable actually. Okay. So yeah, and the next one is the disk management. And we literally take it for granted the disk management in our own systems. And that is fine. Why? Because at the end of the day, only we will be using our family or friends will be using the system, right? But when it comes to enterprise, even a single text file can change the way the server works, right? So each and every file is important and we need to protect everything. So that is the that is the thing we need to or in enterprise, the disk will be protected at any cost. And disk is where money is, right? So we need to uh, do the partitioning and everything. So the partitioning, everything can be done in the each and every disk. Okay, so as I told, let's say you cannot share the same disk maybe with a different team, right? So like that, many things are there. So we will see. Okay, so it is very quite unique. As an end user, you might have used a typical way your system, but when it comes to enterprise, everything is different. Okay, so you need to consider different teams also. It's not just only your team for that project, right? So obviously multiple teams are there, and each team has their own requirement. So you need to satisfy their requirement as well, and only you can do it because you are the system. You have the privilege to change or provision the partition or remove again, not remove every file, right? You can extend the partition or let's say if there is a file loss or data loss, you can restore. Like many things are there. Okay, so yeah, that is the disk management. Very, very important topic. And sysadmin, this is one of the key role for the sysadmins. As I told, only you have the privilege to do that. Okay. So the next one is process management. And again, process management is misunderstood that only process is what we are going to manage. No, it's much more than that. You're going to manage the resources. Like what are all the system resources now? Let's quickly see that. So system resources are your CPU, memory, GPU, disks, and so these are all the core system resources. Okay. And in some cases, GPU might not be there. It totally depends on, let's say, grid computing will use a lot of GPUs, and mostly GPUs are not being used much, right? So totally depends. So in these days, like AI obviously needs GPU to process those much data, that much data. So in that case, GPU is a must, but it totally depends. But these are five are the core system resources. And you are not just monitoring like task manager, right? So process management, you need to manage and diagnose if something went wrong and troubleshoot if it is a persistent issue. Like let's say you restarted the process, let's say Chrome. if I end task this, and again it is not end task, then what is an issue? Right. So if I right click end task, or let me do for some other software which is not relevant. Let's say this one. End task if I do, and now it is it literally terminated the task. What if it is not doing? You need to see the log and understand why it is not doing. There might be some other process using that parent process, right? So many are there. Okay, so you need to understand what went wrong and at what time it is like from which date it is happening. Time, date, it can be anything, right? So it's not, it might be evident that, and the process logs will be very, very evident, right? So literally everything will be logged, guys. That is the important thing. So even now, if I open one more task manager, this will be logged, right? So like that, right? So if I open File Explorer, how many times I open, and if while I opened it, some let's say this folder is not visible or not accessible, even that will be noted error and some permission issue or something, right? So at the end of the day, everything will be noted in your system as a log. And as a sysadmin, you should have a skill of understanding those logs, and we will see or we will extensively see how to do that. Okay, so in that itself will be for another 2 to 3 sessions. It will be uh, how to understand a log, okay, and system diagnostic, system or server troubleshooting. If something went wrong, you are the only person who can troubleshoot it. Okay. So again, these are all not part of your exam. Don't think that, okay, whatever is there I'm talking about is part of the exam. We are seeing much more than that. Exam is one of the things. Our whole syllabus will be revolving around exam, but it's not only the core exam. Okay. So we are doing much more than that, right? So once you're done with that batch, you will have at least 2 to 3 years of experience person what he will learn, you will know, and the best practice in the industry. Okay, so because any company, again, I'm not assuring that, okay, this is the same strategy that every company will follow. Obviously, that's not true. So I'll be blatantly open about that because any company can have a different infra and their own way of approach. But this is the best possible way. Okay, so yeah. And next thing is your server troubleshooting. As I told, how to troubleshoot an issue and how to make sure that issue doesn't appear again. So you need to do an RCA, root cause analysis, and literally know or understand that why it is caused, and you need to check previous logs from the archive. You might need to pull it, and how to archive first. So those things, everything we will discuss in the server troubleshooting. It is one of the interesting sessions. Why? Because as I told, it's not part of the exam, and you will be seeing some advanced or the relevant commands, not advanced, very relevant for system. You must know these. And let's say you're a fresher, if you already have this knowledge, you're let's say you are placed in a company, it will be very useful. Immediately you'll be understanding because trust me, in companies, seniors will give you, they will teach you on the project side only. They won't teach you from scratch the whole thing. And no one can teach the whole Linux thing. I will also confirm with that. But the thing is that they won't explain every aspect because they are not a training institute at the end of the day, right? So companies want their employee to understand and do the project, right? So again, it's your call. You can explore that out of work, but in work environment, they will give only the idea of what it is need to be done. Okay, whereas here you can ask doubts and we'll be seeing much deeper how to do that. Okay. And the last topic would be the basic networking. And why I specifically mentioned basic because um, again, networking itself is a separate subject. Okay, so if I mention just networking, that will go around 30 to 40 sessions. And that is a huge thing, right? So what and all networking related stuff for a sysadmin, right? So let's say IP configuration and how to see if some port is available or not, right? So a basic level, what are all the incoming connection, outgoing connection, right? So the packets transfers, right? So those things, basic understanding will be doing the this one. Okay. So let me move to the actual syllabus. So this I will quickly go through since I explained most of it. So firstly, you will be seeing the introduction for the well 8 I mentioned. So it can be 8 or 9. Okay. So um, because currently the version is even 10 is released. Okay, so RHEL 10 is released. But why RHEL 8 is RHEL 8, 9, and 10, all the three versions I use, but not much difference in the core configuration. Okay, so I will be installing RHEL 8 in my local machine and showing it. I will give you the like demo and all. Okay, whereas in your exam you might attend as a RHEL 9 and don't think that okay RHEL 9 is a totally different thing. The core commands will be the same and it is same for ages. Okay, so no, it is like you might ask that, okay, let's say a Docker command or a basic ls command. Ls is for list. Okay, so is this command updated for recently? No. Will it be updated in future also? No. This has been there forever and it will be like that because many companies or configuration or so many scripts are there which is already using this. So no one or especially Red Hat won't change the basic commands only. So don't think that it will be done. Okay, so that is very, very important. Okay, so yeah, and the essential commands. Okay, so essential commands means even for a basic thing, we need to do in a command. So now we will see what is GUI, CLI, and TUI. So how we are interacting with the machine. Right, yeah, interaction. So for Windows, how I'm interacting with the machines. And can someone put it in the chat? Let's see if you already know what is the full form of GUI and CLI. I guess many might already know. If not, also anyhow I'll explain, but let's see if you guys know. Um, Navneet, Pranay, anyone? Can you put it in the chat? Let's see. What is the full form of GUI and CLI? Anyone? And please keep it interactive, guys. Means you can give it in the chat. And if you want me to unmute you, please raise your hand. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. So nowadays, and Sajid gave the answer. So that's true. Yeah. So at last, I will ask you guys to speak. So you can ask any doubts you want. Okay. Not only today, any session. Okay. So upcoming sessions, any day. At last, you will have a time to discuss whatever doubt is there. Okay. Fine. So graphical user interface. Perfect. And CLI is command line interface. And TUI, which is very underrated or not much used, it is text-based user interface. Okay, so what is this interface or how we are going to interact this? Basically, in GUI, the test example is already I've shown you, or currently I'm using. It is this Linux, sorry, Windows. And in Linux also it is there. Okay, so don't think that, okay, Linux is only CLI or Mac OS is not either of them. or macro is using TN, nothing like that. All the operating systems out there uses GUI, and you see this one. Literally every application or every OS has GUI version. Very few might not have, maybe MS-DOS or some older versions like here might not even have an UI. But trust me, without a GUI, it cannot be top rank maybe in this site. So that is the okay. So GUI, the best example, as I told, it is Windows because everything is graphical. You see, if I go to settings, everything is graphical, right? So device, and let's say I'm going to update, right? So everything you see, it is loaded, and if I hover my mouse to any option, it is highlighted, right? So literally everything, it is very fluid actually. Windows done a very good job in UI, right? So that is the GUI, and even Mac OS and Linux means. Let me turn on my VM. And don't worry about the installation part. Anyhow, I'll show you. Yeah. So here you see the UI. Again, you might ask, okay, this is not that much pleasing. Yes. So it won't be as fluid, or it won't be as pleasing to the eye like Windows. So it is a, but it does the job. That is the important thing. So, okay. So these are all the open source applications in the Linux operating system. Okay, so literally most of the tools will be the alternative of Windows. So in Windows, they kind of push you to use the Edge browser, whereas in Linux, they prefer Firefox. And same thing goes for every tool you have. They literally push the open source tools, which is good and bad at the same time. So those won't get updates very faster compared to the one you maybe you are paying, like let's say MS Office, which you are, it is paid software, whereas here there might be LibreOffice, which is good, but it might not get a, let's say there is a bug, for sure you won't get the latest updates soon. Okay, compared to Windows or Microsoft, you won't get it. Okay, so that is the thing. But this is the GUI of your RHEL 8. Okay, so that is the GUI. Literally all the operating system. Now, CLI does every operating system, yes? Yes, obviously. All the operating system must have a CLI. Okay, so again, it totally depends on the developer if they want the CLI to be accessed or not. For these kind of indie developers like these, right? So if they really want you to access the terminal, but obviously in this case this is Linux, so obviously you need a terminal. But in some cases they will have only GUI. They can restrict you to not use the terminal. Okay, so whereas any mainstream operating systems like Windows, Mac, and Linux or RHEL, it will be CLI is there, and the CLI in Windows is nothing but your command prompt and terminal. Okay, so in Mac OS it is terminal, and in Linux also it is terminal. Okay, so yeah, so this is the CLI in Linux. So here, what is the issue with CLI, or what is the thing is that you cannot simply type create a file. It is not that smart enough, or it's not an LLM model or something, right? It doesn't do just like that create a file. So only if you do a specific command, then only it will create it. Okay, so now if you see, it created this file. So without typing this command, that operation won't be working. And for that, that's the reason I mentioned as essential commands. So even for basic things like listing the file or listing the content of this path, right? So listing or seeing a service or seeing the status of a service, right? So literally everything you need to type a command, which is good. right? So when it comes to enterprise, which is good, but for an entry level or just to get started, let's say a very older person. So for them, this is impossible to understand right out of the box. Obviously, they can understand, but uh, that's the reason there is a GUI option. Okay, so terminal is for enterprise. It is again as an end user or as a developer, you can use it, but the point I'm trying to make is in terminal or in CLI, you have an edge. Like let's say I want to create 100 files. Just like this, I can create, let's say, file. If I do this curly braces 1 and 100, literally 100 files are created within 1 second it took, right? So if I do LL, you see, literally 100 files are there. Again, just now I created, okay? So the point I'm trying to make is in command line, it is way easier for you to do not only this. For let's say and you will be doing this a lot, right? So like changing the permission for multiple files and maybe doing multiple operations, right? So in operation level, CLI is the best because is it possible for you to do everything in GUI? You cannot, right? So this you cannot means it is impossible for you to do. So that is the in like within second, it is impossible, right? So let's say I'm creating a text file. If I click new text document, again I need to do like this, or I can copy this. So you see, this itself it took around 10 seconds, right? So that is the thing. Right. So the same thing goes for your Windows or MS DOS, this one, right? So yeah, command prompt. I need to type only the specific command, then only it will execute. Okay. And now you may ask, okay, there might be a finite commands. Yes, there is a finite number. You cannot execute more than that. So the finite number is a very huge number, by the way. It is around 2000 plus commands are there natively. I'm not talking about like third party like Docker or Kubernetes commands. Those are all separate. Natively itself, you have around 2000 plus commands. And as in our course or in day-to-day usage, you will be using 2000? No, 200 maybe, but at least 100 plus essential commands in your Linux or your lifetime of your Linux, you might use for day-to-day basis, right? So on every day, you must use these essential commands like ls, cat. So these are all basic commands you must use, no other choice. Right? So since it is CLI, no other choice. And now you might ask, okay, even now I'm using GUI and why companies are not preferring GUI? Firstly, it consumes a lot of memory and a lot of CPU, and they do want those for some other purpose, like running an application and, and all. Right? So that's the reason almost any company you take, even from startup till a very huge MNC, they will have CLI as a common or a like a basic interface. No other choice also might be there in some cases. And also for some other tools, let's say you're using Kubernetes or Ansible or like even Amazon have Amazon CLI, right? So like AWS CLI is there. Like that, every tool, especially DevOps tools, for sure CLI is option is there. Okay, which is great. So yeah. So now let's see the slide. And yeah, so that's the thing. We will discuss most of the essential commands and some advanced commands as well. Okay. So now the installation part, as I told, the installation will be shown at the not tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be seeing the difference between virtualization and containerization and few other important topics. But the installation part on day after tomorrow we'll be doing on your local machine if you have the resource, and you will have. Okay, so it is not very resource or resource much resource is not needed actually. right? So your system or your laptop itself is more than enough, right? So again, not latest. You might ask, okay, then it should be a latest laptop. No, if you have an maybe 8 to 9 years old laptop also, it can run VM or RAID. Okay, so that is the thing. And really, if you want, you don't want your system to be used, or you're using your enterprise laptop, whereas where you cannot install a VM or any software, right? So in that case, you don't have a choice. You should use AWS. I will show you okay, so how to create an EC2 instance in AWS. GCP actually, I usually show the GCP one, and I even have a document. But the issue with GCP nowadays is, I'm not sure it is only in my case. They are declining my card. Okay, so I tried multiple cards. Still, they are declining the payment one. Okay, so if it is permitted, I will show you GCP. Don't worry. But it is the same process. Just the naming convention will be different. In GCP, it is called as virtual machine only, whereas in AWS, they're notorious to have their own naming convention. So in AWS, it is called as EC2. Okay, fine. Now, the next one is the most important one, known as performance monitoring. So how we are going to monitor the system's performance um, for each and every resources. So obviously, we already saw 5 important resources are there, and each must be monitored in real time. And we are not talking about only one system. That's obviously not an enterprise, right? So in enterprise, you have thousands of servers. Then you need to have a monitoring tool in place. Okay, so now there are multiple monitoring tools out there in the market, and I had an image to, even now I can search for. Yeah, so monitoring tools 2025, let's say. There will be a very huge, yeah, like this, even this, right? So, so many tools are out there, okay? But the market leader or the best practice would be your Dynatrace is very famous one. Dynatrace is there. SolarWinds is also very famous. App Dynamics, Nagios, and in our company we use Grafana. Okay, so Grafana ELK stack means Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. Okay, so hence it is a stack of different services. Okay. And you have for log monitoring only you have um, I myself forgot the full name. So it is Splunk, right? So Splunk also we use in our company. So that is specifically for log. Okay, we even have Logstash. Sorry, New Relic, and so many are there. Okay, so Dynatrace is for performance, APM, application performance monitoring. Even for infra, you can use Dynatrace, and we even use ITRS. Right, so so many are there. Again, many might be outdated here. Right, so the monitoring tools are one of the aspects which easily get outdated. So yeah, even Prometheus, a very famous one. So which kind of shares with the finance. So yeah, so many other. I just listed the famous one, okay, and the one which I used personally. So yeah, fine. So any one of the monitoring tool, we will see the basic or at least the alert configuration if time permits again. Okay, so because the whole system admin tasks is important, but anyhow, I'll show you the performance monitoring within the servers using commands. But this is a separate monitoring tool, right? So if time is not there at the end of the session, I will give the recordings of this in my resource page. Okay, so this is the resource. I will upload it here. You need not worry that, okay, I didn't cover that. So for sure, I will upload the Splunk or any one of the tool because I usually don't include this, but it is necessity, right? So you must know any one of the tool, at least the basics. Now you might ask, okay, what if I know Prometheus and in companies they use Dynatrace? or the project which you are placed is using Dynatrace, obviously you can adopt. But at least the basic idea how a alert works, how the alert are notified, right? So how to set a threshold value, right? So basic, again, it's bare minimum. Okay, so if you have that idea, obviously you can adopt any tool. Okay, so just the UI and the naming convention will be different, but the core concept stays the same. Not only for monitoring tools, any DevOps tools. Okay, so yeah, fine. So that is the performance monitoring. And user management, I already told you, right? So the basic, we will manipulate multiple users and how to work on it. Again, I will be explaining this in detail. And don't think that, okay, this is a very, very basic thing. It is basic, I understand, but there is, let's say you are a fresher. The very first thing they will ask you to do in a production server is user management, because you need to get familiar with the servers. You cannot, or they won't expect you to execute a very huge commands like, let's say, partitioning or some troubleshooting and all. They expect you to do the basic thing, to familiar with the environment. Okay, so yeah, fine. So that is the user management and the OS concepts. So again, the basic OS needs, how to search a file, how to analyze a text document, right? So how to connect to a server remotely, which we will or we must do, no other choice, because the servers are not under or within your locality, right? That is impossible, or within your office locality. The servers will be somewhere in the around the world, and obviously you need to log in remotely. Even if you are in with it is near your locality, also you won't be going there and logging in, right? So you will be remotely logging in from your system, and how it works and what is SSH. Everything we'll discuss, okay, in detail again. And the basic archive, how to archive, or what is archive firstly, to store unused file, or the file is not being needed now, but it will be needed. It is an important one, but not now. Okay, so for sure we will archive not only in like basic thing, important files also will be archived. Okay? How to do that, and where it will be done, and how to transfer if you are archived, everything we'll discuss, and how to manipulate the files. Right. So the if you do again, these are all basics. Okay, like what are all the permissions, how to manipulate the permission, uh, create, copy, delete, move. Right. So remove, everything we'll discuss when it comes to files and directories, and hard link and soft link also will do. Okay? And this is an important one, file permissions, because the permissions which you are maybe used to Windows is not the same in Linux. Here it is a very different one. So yeah, we will see. Again, obviously it is read, write, execute in Windows also, but here it works in a very different way. We'll discuss that. Okay, and that is an important session. And the next one is system admin activities, the basic activities for the sysadmin. So next session itself, we'll be discussing about the booting procedure. So what, and that is a very age-old question. Okay, so in interviews, that is one of the most important question. It used to be an important question, and that's what. Why it is important? Because companies uh, do have a lot of servers, and the server might, we are talking a volume of thousands of servers, and there might be at least one server which is faulty and which might be stuck in booting process. Like let's say stuck in grub stage. So you need to understand what is grub in order to address that issue, right? And only you can do that. That is the issue. Uh, Only sysadmin can handle. None of the app team or any other team will have access to it. So that's the reason. The basic question is, what is booting procedure? We will see that. The very next session itself, we will see that. And these are all the things covered there. Because if you want to interrupt, how to interrupt it, you want to, the whole procedure itself we'll discuss. Okay? And how to identify the CPU and high intensive processes, how to kill it, how to troubleshoot if it is persistent. If you cannot kill, how to do it. It's everything we'll discuss in this one. And what is tuning profile? Again, this is not that much important of a topic, but it is part of the exams question. Okay, so yeah, as I told, understanding a log itself is a skill. Okay, so we'll discuss that extensively. So how to locate it first, and how to analyze it, and what are all journal logs. There is like too many log types are there. So we'll discuss one by one for sure. And how to preserve the logs, because few logs will be like uh, encrypted, right? So in that case, you need to preserve that. So how to preserve it and all. So, and the next one is I just given a basic system services. It is like entirety of the system service. Start, stop, check, and troubleshoot everything. And how to transfer the files between different servers. Okay. And yeah, so usually I don't cover server patching, but that is a necessity, right? So you must know what is server patching. Again, the basic installation and all we will discuss, but server patching, uh, how it is done, like a satellite patching. Again, I won't show in practical because I don't own a satellite server and all. I'll just give an idea how it is done in the. Okay. So yeah, and LVM process. So what is LVM full form is logical volume management, and it is part of the disk management. Okay, so all this like again manipulating different disks, how it works, and what is the best practice. LVM is one of the most important aspect companies prefer Linux because in Windows, let me give an example. So this is I have actually three disks in my system. This is my hard disk, SSD. Okay, what if I want to combine all the three? Can I do that actually speaking? Natively? No. Using some third-party tool? Yes and no. Why? Because it is not recommended actually to do that. Okay. But natively also it is impossible to do in Windows. Like I want to create one common partition for all the three disks. Is it possible? No. Whereas in Linux, natively it is possible. It is called as LVM. Okay, so logically, we are going to create an partition and we are going to manage it within the system. And it is very easily approached in Linux. There is no complexity, there is no third party tool. Within the system, you can do it. And yes, very, very easy and straightforward. Again, it is an important task for a sysadmin. So for sure, we must do. Okay. So the next one is create, mount, unmount, uh, right? So like formatting to different file system formats. And all these are related to your disk management, okay? And LVM creation, deletion, extension, and Stratis and video is an advanced version of LVM. So how it is done? Again, these two are asked in the exam, so that it's one of the reason we do cover it. And and when it comes to operating system, security is one of the deciding factor which operating system we will choose. Yeah, as an end user also, even for enterprise, security plays it's like a end of the road. So you need to decide between which route to take, right? So it is uh, the most secure operating system with maybe less features, or the less secure operating system with more features, right? So there will be a dilemma in any company you take, or any as an end user itself, right? So let's say even for choosing your phone, you might choose Android or iOS, or even operating system, you'll choose Mac OS or Windows, right? So like that. Security plays a vital part as in any IT. So here also, security is like the best out there compared to the competitors, especially Windows. So okay, so because Windows is kind of vulnerable, and it's been vulnerable for quite some time. It's not recently, for quite some time. There is a lot of hackers and a lot of people want to exploit that, and it is easily exploitable also. I'm not denying that. So, but that is the thing, right? So, whereas in Linux, they use, or the hackers use Linux as a machine to create those tools to exploit. Okay, so it is that much resilient for attacks that even attackers are there, hackers or practice or any such team or uh, developers or forum, right? So they use Linux as a base machine. Okay, so and you even have Kali Linux, which is dedicated for penetration testing, and so many other. Okay, so security aspect, it is the best out there, and you might have heard it, and that is also one of the reason companies prefer Linux. One of the main reasons. Okay, fine. So the we will see SC Linux and how it is done, everything, right? And firewall, right? So in one single session itself, we'll cover all the security aspects and well, except SSH. Okay, so this key-based authentication, this might take 2 sessions. I need to explain you what is SSH. Then we'll discuss about key-based, and we'll see extensively how it is done. And we'll see the basic idea of cryptography, because without knowing that, you cannot understand key-based authentication. Okay, so yeah. And as I told in the basic networking, the IP configuration and how to set a host name, how to check the network services, and how to enable it. And basic, again, bare minimum is what we will discuss. For a sysadmin knowledge, again, it's not like everything will be basic. For a sysadmin, what and all the networking related tasks, we will discuss that. Okay. So yeah, and we are not done yet. Last thing is containers and VMware vSphere. So in your industry or mostly the companies prefer, as RHEL is dominating, VMware vSphere is the version which will be used. So this is VMware workstation. This is for like commercial use for end user like us. But for companies, they use VMware vSphere. I will try to install and show it to you because usually this needs a lot of disk space. It is around 150 GB disk space is needed to install, and the whole memory will be utilized. Like almost 6 gigs of minimum memory is there required for vSphere to run. I will try to show you in session. If not, I will do a recording because uh, running a Zoom as well as this vSphere, my system cannot handle for sure. So if possible, I will show it to you. If not, I will do a recording and it will be uploaded here. Okay, so I will explain this one in a moment, 1 second. And what is containers? So containers, again, tomorrow we will see extensively what is containers. But Podman is the container which we will be discussing, which is part of Red Hat ecosystem. Okay? And how to create a status service related to container. Okay. So these are all the syllabus part we will be discussing. Okay, it's quite extensively important, and I can assure you that for sure after the batch you can appear for the RHCSA exam. Uh, you can clear it, and many did clear even this year around. I'm not keeping a count of how many got back once they cleared. Okay, so like around 11 people, which they came back and confirmed that they cleared this one. Sorry, Naval, it is only in English, unfortunately, because we do have people outside India as well. So, and it's been in English forever. So, only English it is. Any other questions? And before that, this is a paid batch. That is important. That you must enroll. Then only you can get access to the Zoom link as well as the recordings, notes, and recording notes are forever. Okay, so you need not worry about the availability of that, right? So it is forever available for you, and it will be available in the portal. So this is the portal. I'll give this in the chat. Can we get a job without certification? Okay, that is a very valid and important question. Yes, you can get a job. But in the current job market, you might already see in the news. Again, I'm talking the Indian market. In the global level as well, it is very hard to uh, show a unique resume, right? So it is very, very hard because literally everyone may mention Linux, I done so and so whatever topics we discuss, you can actually mention in the resume. But what would differentiate your resume from others? Only if you've done unfortunately, only if you've done a certificate, you are companies do want that, right? So they want that affirmation that, okay, this guy knows something and he done an official certificate. Okay, so that is important. And uh, yeah, so that is the reason getting the certificate is a necessity. Not only this, your cloud certificate or any other, getting that and then searching for a job, your experience will be totally different. Without that certificate, it might be different. Okay, so again, I'm not denying that without certificate, obviously you can get job, but you should or right HR team need to contact you, or maybe you get calls only from startups. You're getting the point, right? So the way companies approach will be very different if you have a certificate and if you don't, and especially for RHCSA. Okay, so this is one of the certificate which literally changes your resume, right? So yeah, that is the reason people do opt for RHCSA. There are multiple alternatives. I'm not denying that. You have LFCS. Okay, so Form PIA plus is there, and many because and even Ubuntu have their own. Again, it's not a very huge certificate, but you even have an Ubuntu based also. But why companies or even many trainings are not around that, right? So why? Because uh, why? Because LFCS is good, but it is also a practical based exam, but it is not having that longevity, right? Whereas RHCSA, you done, obviously it is having a 3 years validity, right? So after that you need to renew your certificate, but it has its own credibility. If you mention in LinkedIn, many people will address your LinkedIn page also, right? So that's the thing, the reason. And RHCSA, the cost of that certificate is around 23K, more or less 23K. Okay, so including GST and all. This is in INR, but unfortunately in USD it is around, I'm not sure why, but it is around 400 USD, which is way more than INR. Okay, so 400 maybe without tax it is. That's what my previous student told. So yeah, 400 USD. Okay, and there is no proper. Okay, where did he got that 60 days? So there no one can assure you that 60 days is the like there is no fixed time even from the official Red Hat itself. You know the Red Hat like there is a rapid course also for from official Red Hat, which is only for um, 6 hours. 6 hours is there, only if you're doing that also you can appear for the exam. It's totally depends on how you're approaching, right? So that is a wrong date actually. So 60 days, no. So you can do within 1 week also, like how much time you're spending. So in our case, the batches are each day 1 hour and it might extend maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes. Depends, totally depends on how many doubts you're asking. And doubts are welcome at the end of it. So you can ask as many doubts, but I can assure you the 4 weeks or 24 plus days of content will be there and much more. Okay, so I at the last I might extend the session even maybe till 2 hours or so because I need to complete that topic on one single session because it will be easy for you to reference back, right? That's the and don't think that okay only if you do 60 days practice then you can appear for the exam. Nothing like that. For sure you can appear once you prepare. And this is a practical exam. That is the important thing I'm stressing again and again. Only if you practice and get your hands dirty, and that is the only thing or only confirmation that you can appear for the exam because you're investing a lot of money for the exam. And Red Hat is generous enough to give a one free attempt, reattempt. Let's say unfortunately you failed the exam, you can reattempt once for free. Okay, so I will explain that process, actually. Don't worry. Okay, so this exam is available online. I myself attended it remotely only. I attended during COVID time. So 2022 is the year which I attended. So I attended from my laptop only. I will show you, or I will give you the procedure how to enroll. Those things, don't worry about those. But this is the step you want to take for your future. So in your case, let's say, what is the career trajectory? Because I'm actually more than the time, but uh, let me complete with this one because you will get a basic idea how it will be. So the very first job you can apply with this, let's say after a course. After the course, you can apply for sysadmin job, which is from 0 to 2 year experience. Okay, so this is the sysadmin job. The next one is system engineer is there, which is kind of like a L2 or kind of a senior grade. Okay, so from 2 years till 4 or even 5 years in some cases. Totally depends on the company. Okay, so I'm not giving the exact data. So it totally depends on the company. Some company expects you to have even 5 years plus for sysadmin role. And the next one will be senior sysadmin on senior engineer. But the actual career trajectory of yours should be as a platform engineer or DevOps engineer. Okay, so now you might ask, okay, what is the skill I should have for sysadmin? Proper Linux or advanced Linux knowledge itself is more than enough. And the one which we are discussing is more than enough for sysadmin job. Whereas here, if you should have advanced Linux knowledge. Okay. Whereas for platform engineering, DevOps engineering, this will be for maybe 4 to 6 or even 7 years plus. Right. So for this, it's not just Linux, it's Git, Jenkins, and the list goes on. There's a Docker and the at least the basic life cycle, right? So at least 4 to 5 tools you should know. It's not like the whole cycle of tools you need to know. You'll get lost in it, right? So you'll be keep on preparing for years, and you won't be even applying for the companies. You'll be keep on preparing because it's a huge thing. You can take even 1 year to prepare Jenkins, and still it will be a lot to prepare. Same thing goes for Linux and specifically Linux because it is a full-fledged operating system. You will be forever preparing and you won't apply for the companies only. So please never ever do that. I encourage my students to right away apply for the companies and I can even do a resume like resume review. Okay, so I usually do that resume review but not within the batch. So you can send a drop an email, or if you want me to do within the batch also, we can. It's totally flexible. Okay, so that is the thing. I'm not myself like Logic Lab itself is a flexible institute, right? So you can uh, add a topic, you can like extend a topic, right? So obviously we won't remove a topic, but yeah, it totally depends on your involvement, and we are not done yet. There is even one more role called as SRE, which is full form as Site Reliability Engineer. Okay, so this is like obviously 8 plus years. Okay, so minimum 8 years, and some mid-level companies even encourage 6 plus years also. SRE roles are there. So this is what is the difference between DevOps and SRE is just the automation. The SRE will make sure there is a lot of automations are there and more of a programming they will do. Okay, so which is fine, kind of foreign for DevOps engineer. They will do, but not to SRE level. But automation is the key factor which differentiates between DevOps and SRE. DevOps also create automation, but SRE does to a certain extent that literally there should not be any um, manual intervention. Everything should be automated, right? So they will introduce a lot of pipelines and so many things. They will, okay? So that's the reason it is for a senior folk. Right away, if a company is asking you to do an SRE, like let's say a startup, you have a lot of responsibility under your belt, right? So yeah, but this is the career trajectory once you're done with the batch. Okay. So once again, let me send this link, and this recording will be available in this YouTube channel. I will do the YouTube channel also. Uh, exactly. Okay, so 2012 degree brother. Okay, fake experience. As an institute, we don't provide that, but there are many institutes out there which provide, and as an experience, you can. But yes, for sure, you can land a job. Something I can assure you that. Okay, so with Linux knowledge and which you have done the certification, for sure you can land. And um, you won't believe me, but there was a student who was as a chef. Okay, so who is not even literally there is no connection between chef and IT, but he studied Linux. Okay, so he studied our batch, and he's a Linux or even DevOps engineer now. Actually, he is, and it's been like almost 3 to 4 years now. Okay, so yeah, for sure, it's possible, but it's your call. You need to put your effort, and then only you can get a job. And there will be a lot of courses out there. You will be get lost. Nowadays, the content is so more that you'll get lost in many courses. So just stick to the one course, complete it, complete the certification. That is important in your case. So for sure, then you can review your resume. You need to create your profile or portfolio. Then only you can uh, get a job. Okay, so for sure, I can help you with that. Don't worry. Okay, so yeah. So one second, I'll give the YouTube link. And really sorry for extending the session. Okay, so any other doubts? Almost 50% complete. That's what Sandeep, as just now I told, right? It will, it's impossible. Not only you, anyone, even for me or anyone, it will be forever. You will learn forever. But you should take the next step. You need to start applying and at least apply companies to get rejected. You have a basic idea how a interview will be, right? Apply for a very huge company for sure. Let's say if they schedule an interview, that interview you just attend to get a basic understanding or an experience. There is no need for you to clear it, right? So that's what. If you prepare, it will be for, as I told, forever you will be preparing only. In your case, it is like 2012 you have passed out. So sorry, in 2017 you passed out. So yeah, so for sure you prepared a lot that I can understand, but don't worry, you are in the right place. Okay, I can assure you that. Don't worry, because I gave a one example. So there are many testimonial like that. So some literally no non-technical. Many people did switch to technical after the RHCSA certification. Again, I'm not pushing RHCSA certification, but you don't have a choice nowadays. That is the harsh truth. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so let me stop it here, guys. So tomorrow also is a demo session, and today's recording will be available in the YouTube channel. We will discuss someday. Okay, so not now. We'll discuss later. Okay. So yeah, thanks all then. Sorry again, sorry for extending the session. So, yeah, thanks all. See you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye bye.